It's always a pleasure to see everybody. So, Jazz in June had a day where we had a typhoon. And on that day we had the typhoon, our guest was looking for. Ladies and gentlemen, it's with great pleasure that I introduce to you a young man who has grown up here in the Memphis area. He has performed with all the Memphis legends in some shape or form. Considering that he performs on the electric guitar and the electric bass, the drums, the piano, and everything else in between. He's performed around this area probably since he was a little bitty person. And when he's not playing music with various groups or at a church, he's also working as one of the managers at the great Memphis Area Transit Authority. So, ladies and gentlemen, to welcome Jazz in July, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Robert Bailey. Robert Bailey.
I don't know what I said. I'm going to do a little track, probably coming on the CD. It's called Emmanuel. With these guys that accompany me. It's on the track, but I mean, feel free. You know, so give me. There it is. There it starts. 65.
better than what we experienced here this morning as far as music. Everybody doing all right today? This morning, I know you're probably looking at the title and you're thinking, the thunder of silence. The thunder of silence. And you're thinking, that doesn't make sense, does it? How can you have thunder and silence? Thunder, silence, because we usually think of thunder as being something loud and something that roars, something that indeed, we take shelter when we hear thunder, because we know where there's thunder, there's what? Lightning. And so silence is something that we don't necessarily associate with thunder, but I want to take that opportunity this morning to explore that and talk about thunder and silence. And I'm going to need your help this morning. It's been a kind of long week for me, and a lot of stuff going, and to help me to remember where I'm going with this, there's 3 terms that I need you to help me to remember. So the first one is concepts. So say that with me, concepts. Concepts. The second one is perceptions. Perceptions. The third one is projections. Projections. So what's the first one? Concepts. Perceptions. Projections. Try one more time. Concepts. Perceptions. Projections. Y'all look good. Projections. Now, when we have those together, you have an understanding and the keys to spiritual healing and prayer and the thunder of silence. So it's what? Concepts, perceptions. Y'all got that quickly? Y'all are worse than I am.
It's okay, it's on Twitter.
It's all right. It's on Twitter. When I think about this, and I was reading some things, and I was really trying to understand, Walter Starkey in his book, It's All God, has been the book that's consumed me for the past several weeks. And when I came across this, I was trying to think how to distill it, because he really goes into great detail and great length to talk about those terms that I shared with you. And as I was going through them and trying to figure out how is it that I can take this and distill it in a way that I can understand and that people can understand, and I thought about something that is even got its own term now. Does anybody know what a selfie is?
Yeah.
What's a selfie? Everybody takes a camera out, the camera phone out, they hold the phone up, and they take a picture. I mean, Shelly does 10 million a day. But it's a picture that we take, a selfie, because I was thinking about a photograph, and that's what a selfie is, and how a photograph or a snapshot is a concept. And the way that this concept is, does that photograph really capture who you are? It captures who you are in that moment. But the thing of it is that we develop concepts of people and circumstances based on that one moment. I'll give you an example. Many people were outraged because a teenager from Alabama went over to visit one of the concentration camps that was used during World War II to hold the Jews captive, which was at Auschwitz. And she took a selfie there at Auschwitz, and people got outraged. She received, now the stand-up comedians laughing about it, so I'm going to have to check on that. She took a selfie there at Auschwitz, and she received death threats as a result of that. People for her to take it there. They didn't understand her story. But the thing of it is that they automatically assumed something about her based on one selfie, one photograph, a concept. And they started saying things about what her parents must be like, how she must have been brought up, what kind of person she was, all of those things based upon one photograph. And the thing of it is that what happens with us is that we see situations and circumstances or even people, and we develop what about them? Concepts. 1,000 people know you. Who knows the true you? Who knows the true you? Because the thing of it is, we all operate with one another based on the concepts that we have about one another. I mean, there are people that I know that I've seen, and the first thought that I had of them when I first thought of myself, boy, they really are mean. Or they really are friendly. Or they really are generous. Or they really are stingy. Or they really are racist. Or they really are poor. Or they really are unhealthy. Or they really are all those things based on a concept. But what happens is that the second thing we said was concepts, and the second part of that is what? The second term? Perceptions. Because with perceptions, then we take the concept and then we base our behavior and our attitudes and everything else on those perceptions. Because if I think if a person is unhealthy, then I'm going to act a different way when they're around as opposed to someone that I think is healthy. If I see myself as being unhealthy, I'm going to act in ways and perceive things in ways that take into account the perception that I have about myself. If I perceive myself to be in lack and limitation, I'm going to act in that way. Perceptions. And we get caught up in the prison of concepts, which leads us to the thing of perception. And the thing of it is that perceptions are oftentimes activated by judgment. And the master teacher Jesus said to judge not lest we be judged, but we judge people and circumstances and even ourselves. And we hear that, but nobody tells us why we ought not to judge. Because when we judge things and when we judge people and even when we judge ourselves, we become stuck in those judgments. And what happens is, because a part of what I meant to say about the concept is that science has proven that when we think thoughts over and over and over again, we form grooves in our brains that then continue to repeat those concepts and those thoughts over and over and over again. That's one of the reasons why when and changing their lives and changing things, oftentimes they get stuck. You have people who have addictions and they have issues with those addictions and things like that. And one of the reasons why is because we keep thinking the same thoughts over and over and over again, and we form those grooves in our brain, those grooves in our mind that, we basically just continue to live the same life, one life, next day, next day, next day, next day, because we keep thinking the same thing. And perceptions trap us in that when we get caught up in that. So it's really important to understand that. And comedy or sitcoms oftentimes on television, play this out. This is one of a typical story that you will see in sitcoms. You will have a person that maybe they have had a past where they have been incarcerated, let's say, and they decide to come around, and there's some people that decide to give them a chance. We're going to give them a chance. We're going to give them an opportunity. And there's some people that are nervous. They've been in jail. I don't know if I want to be around them. I don't know if I feel safe. But they made the decision that they're going to change their life. And so that they're going to do that. But then what happens is that something goes missing. Now, who's the first person everybody turns to and suspects because something is missing? The person who was in prison. Why? Judgment, perception. We have a concept, because not everybody that's in prison, and I know not everybody, a lot of people in prison will say, I didn't do what I did, I'm innocent. But there are a lot of people that are innocent. There are a lot of people who also have learned their lesson and are trying to do something different now. But society has the groove that we have been thinking over and over and over again collectively, that we don't want to give people a chance. And the thing of this is, not only do we do that to other people, we also do that to ourselves. How many times have we promised ourselves, I'm not going to do this anymore, or I'm not going to do that again? End up the next week, right back, maybe not even the next week, right back the next day, or the next hour, right back doing the same thing over and over and over again. I mean, I remember when I was in college, some of my friends that would get really, really drunk, and they would swear they're never going to drink again. And the next weekend roll around, and the first person you see walking across campus, coming from the liquor store, with something in their hands is that person. I thought you weren't going to drink. Oh man, he don't. How many times? Because we get caught in that. I've shared this story before, where in the book The Eye of the Storm, where the author talks about going to these astrologers that were Tibetan astrologers, and they laid out his chart and everything for him. They told him about his past life and things that had happened. I mean, in detail about, the divorce that he had been, all of those things, and they went into great detail. And they had a person translating, asked the question about, what's my future like? They gave a very short answer to the translator. And so he was surprised to say, they gave me all this detail about my past life. And then when I asked about what my future is going to be like, it was very short. What translate for me? Tell me what he said. And basically it said, more of the same. And he said, more of the same? What do you mean more of the same? Went back and he asked him that question, and then they replied again. The translator came back and said, the reason why this is that we tend to think the same thoughts over and over and over and over and over again. So we get caught up in those perceptions that are fueled by concepts, and we continue to do these things, and we continue to think these things, which brings us to the third component, which is what? Projections. Y'all are good. Projections. When we start to think about projections, when, again, those people that were caught up in that young lady, and they started to say things about her, and talk about how selfish and uncaring she was, and they said many kinds of unflattering things, they threatened her, all of those things, and then the young lady's story came out. And the young lady's story was this, that she was supposed to have taken that trip to Auschwitz with her father, who had told her about the history of what had happened during World War II, and the internment and all of the things that had happened there, and the extermination of Jews. And I would also parenthetically add that there were Africans that were also exterminated, because there were groups that were incarcerated by Hitler in Germany at the same time, and they also were exterminated. But he went on and told her that story, and about Auschwitz and everything. And they were supposed to go together, but he died. He made his transition before they could make the trip. So her taking the selfie was basically the way to say, Daddy, I made it. But the thing of it is that people were already projecting, they were already saying things about her, they were already putting her in a particular light. And what happens with projections, we have to be careful about projections. We have to be careful about how we characterize other people and what we say about other people and that thing. Because what ultimately is going on is is that there are things about us that we've not resolved, that we put on other people. That's why it's projector. You think about a projector. Right now, here we have a projector, 4 projectors that are working to put these images on the wall. And it puts them there, those images. If we want to change the image, where do we have to go to change the image? To the source. Ultimately, get in the projector. And once we do that, we can begin to change things, but we have to be careful because so often what we're projecting on other people are aspects of ourselves that we've not yet healed, that we've not yet come to terms with. You know, when you see a person, and oftentimes we can see it better than other people than we can in ourselves, but when you have somebody that's out there talking about other people and how they're this and they're that, and you know, they're so mean, they're so nasty, they're so untrustworthy, they're whatever, those, this and that. You have to start untrustworthy. Where am I mean? Where am I nasty? Because ultimately, the only person that we're responsible for is me. So I said that when we understand about concepts, perception, projections, we gain the key to healing and the key to growth. Because it all comes down to understanding what I'm looking at is not really what is. That I'm only perceiving something based on my concept about things, but it's not the reality. Many people know me, but no one knows the real me, and I can get tricked into not knowing the real me. The real me is God in expression. It's God in expression. If we say on Sunday mornings, we stand up, we hold our hands to one another, and we want to, you know, it's a time to be fun and a time to be light and all of that, but there's a serious aspect to that because we say, I greet you, I bless you, I see God in you. That's a powerful statement. I see God in you. Because that ultimately is what we're saying. That ultimately who I am is God in expression. So what it means then is that the very same power that creates worlds and that creates the universe is available to me. So whatever it is that I'm facing, whatever it is that is on me, whatever it is that is there, that it's not what it looks like because there is something greater that is in operation with me. And the way that the thunder of silence comes in is that we can get so busy and our minds can get so caught up and we can get so worried, discouraged about things and so frustrated about things and so frightened about things and so lost about things that we don't understand that we have right there with us, that we have the God expression that is right there with us. And when we allow ourselves to see that, then life begins to change. But the way that we do that is by being quiet. The way we do that is by being mindful. The way that we do that is by taking a breath. The way that we do that is by living in the present moment. The way that we do that is by understanding that there only is now, and it's here and now in this present moment where I stand and stand in my truth. And as I stand in my truth, I begin to see things in a different light. I begin to understand who I am. I begin to grasp the truth of who I am, and things begin to happen. Some people will call them miracles, will call them miraculous, but it's ultimately just the truth of who we are in operation. And when we can stand in those moments, and when we can look at something and people are wondering how in the world, in the midst of all that is happening, you can stand there and you can know your truth. You can declare your truth. You can be steadfast in your truth. It's because you got your concepts and you've got your perceptions and you've got your projections right, because you have stood in the thunder of silence and have said that it's all God. It's all good. It's all. That's what it is. Healing, prayer, mindfulness. It all comes down to those three things. And when we are able to do that, we understand the life that the master teacher Jesus was talking about when he declared, I came that you might have life, have it more abundantly. Abundant sacrifice.